Self-awareness is all there is. So there's nowhere when consciousness is not aware of itself. There's no time when consciousness is not aware of itself. And this is where spiritual literacy begins. And in order to understand it properly, you see that what presupposes or gives possibility for being more aware at times and less at other times is because consciousness, as it were, is coated in three relative states, or by these three relative states: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. They're simply more dense vibrations within consciousness. And you could say that in waking state, you are more aware than you are aware in a deep sleep, isn't it? Because in deep sleep, there's nothing happening. But in waking state of consciousness, all the senses acting, and there's this body-mind coordination. There is this possibility of experiencing yourself and in this environment. In dreaming state of consciousness, there's another kind of awareness. As senses withdrawn, they rest. Senses are withdrawn, and mind abides by itself. And this is why in dreams we can fly, we can be in unusual situations, right? It doesn't have to defy it doesn't have to abide by the laws that govern the waking state. So these states of consciousness create the possibility, as it were, for that temporal coming and going, or coming and out of being aware into being more aware. But there is nowhere a moment when you are not aware. If that were so, then consciousness would be fragmented within. But more specifically now to like how we experience that in meditation, is that at some point meditation, there could be so many different very specific experiences. You could experience actually samadhi with kalpa. Kalpa here is simply a vibration of sorts, vibration, a vibration of mind, but it could be a feeling. It's samadhi with awareness, savikalpa. And when we experience that state, and savikalpa samadhi is also a samadhi. This is what a lot of meditators not fully value their meditations, because they think, oh, I'm thinking, therefore I'm not really meditating, I'm not really experiencing this covetous, that precious, that desired state. But that is not so. Even in savikalpa samadhi, even though there are some thoughts, consciousness abides in itself. Like the possibility is given. And this is precisely a confirmation that at some point you feel as if the thoughts have gone. And you just fallen somewhere and it feels nice. There's no space and time, there's just this, however short. And then awareness on the level of like you pick, oh, I'm just beginning to think about something. Or I just hear Harley Davidson just passed by, like. So here is like you can use it as a mantra. There's so many so you see that this, what comes and goes, that awareness. It's not that awareness lapses. Awareness cannot come and go. It's a substratum of all experiences. But in meditation, the wave starts to change. And if meditation is deep enough, you might be fully in samadhi, and yet you can faintly perceive everything. You're aware that you're in this room still, somehow, and there's some sounds, but you're in a deep meditation, you're in samadhi. You're not in nirvikalpa samadhi, you're not in samadhi which cessation took place, where you lost bodily awareness, and with that, obviously, the sense of space and time. That state is more rare. Then you abide as awareness, and you know yourself as awareness only. All you are, you're aware. But there is nothing that awareness necessarily fixates on or has an external something, external stimuli or external recognition. It's withdrawn to a degree when you are only aware of awareness. Or in other words, you become self-awareness itself. And that is a state of nirvikalpa samadhi. If we take it, that kind of take. Now, there are many different takes when we talk about the transcendence in meditation. But practically, it's very good to recognize these moments. That, for instance, there is even a practice where you literally deliberately fall into the gap where one thought ends and another about to begin. And it is known that everything is in the gaps. It's a very, very well-known secret. Those in the know. That consciousness, you can experience yourself as you are, not necessarily after enlightenment, but now as you are, your pure Shiva consciousness. If you simply fall into that gap, and that gap is everywhere, absolutely everywhere. It's impossible, nothing would exist without these gaps. And these gaps is this, a lot can be spoken about, and a lot has been spoken about. It's like when the one thought ends, and just before another begins, there's this gap. You recognize it, and you drop your awareness there. And you are as you are. Yeah, essential nature. It is even more acutely experienced between your breaths. And one breath is being exhaled, and just before another one comes, because there's a space. That's why this marked spaces of the guided meditation, because this is easier to catch it there, as it were. Just notice it. But it's not just in meditation. In any activity, when you can catch yourself in between, you know yourself as you are. Because that, what's in between, is your awareness in unaltered state. Just experiment on your own, and you will see how actually not difficult that is. But it's so subtle that it eludes us. It's so subtle and could seem insignificant, but it's very significant. Very significant. Because we know that stillness and that peace has never left us, even in the midst of any tumultuous and the most devastating or the most disturbing experience, because it's simply there, but it's so overshadowed, overpowered by quality of our awareness being on the surface of experience, then it simply misses it altogether, you see? But with attention, it's being recognized and more recognized. In meditation, you catch yourself and literally the breath suspends, and it could suspend for much more prolonged than in a normal phase when your body is active. And you just sit there and you hardly notice there's income. Are you breathing at all? The breath is in suspense. So that gap is widened. And that gap is widened. Our consciousness is expanded. And we are as we are. And then the next thought comes and the next feelings, because it's natural. But at least at that moment, you beheld yourself as you are. Just try it.